I think if a club has a grievance, then I don't think there's anything wrong with highlighting it and taking your concerns to the authorities. We should welcome dialogue. We had a democracy. It shouldn't be a dictatorship. So as long as there's meaningful dialogue, as long as it doesn't become personal between Rangers and the hierarchy. So look, I don't have a problem for that. But where I do feel sorry for is Kevin Clancy and the match officials. Now, he made mistakes. He's been called out for it, and I'm sure he's watched reruns and he'll realise that he got 2 or 3 big ones wrong on Tuesday night. But he is a human being, and mistakes happen. And what we said a lot on Wednesday night, and what everybody's now been saying, we need VAR, Rob. We need VAR to stop this. We need VAR to protect our referees, and we need VAR to get to the right decisions. Now, VAR isn't there to embarrass our referees. VAR is there to help them get the right decisions. Now, a lot of times VAR is still down to opinion. It's not factual. But God help any referee or official that on the last day of this season, if this title goes down to the wire, there's a mistake made and it settles which way the titles go. Now, under any circumstances, all hell would break loose. But this is a bit special this year. There's 35 million quid riding on the title, and our officials, there's a prospect of them being hung out to dry, and that's a horrible prospect between now and the end of the season.
That's a fair point, isn't it, Barry? The stakes are so high, the pressure is even more intense than it's ever been on Scotland's officials, and VAR, from what we hear, is still a year away.
Yeah, that's the worrying thing, Rob. We've been banging on about this in this show at the start of the season. I was hoping that at some stage, round about Christmas time or the turn of the year, that they would maybe think of bringing it in, and they would give us a definite answer that they were going to bring it in. But it's going to take 6 months. I think Mark said that on Wednesday night. It takes 6 months
to get everybody trained up and all the technical side of it.
And now they're talking the summer, so you're looking at the turn of next year before they bring VAR in, which is worrying. And look, I wasn't a fan of it when it first came in, if I'm being honest with you, down in England, when it was taking 3, 4, 5 minutes at times to make decisions. But I think with some of the refereeing decisions up here that have been so poor, our refs need the help now, and we need to bring it in as quickly as possible.
Do you think other clubs, Mark, might follow the lead of Rangers here, sensing the opportunity to ask questions, to throw doubt on the quality of Scotland's referees, and just file a complaint, as Rangers have done, because they're not happy with the officiating?
Like I say, there should be an avenue open for dialogue, and as long as it's constructive, Rob, I don't have a problem with any club doing it. Just like there can be notices of complaint put against clubs with retrospective decisions after a game if something's caught in camera. The Rangers there's been a number of clubs. You speak to any club this season, whether it's at League One or Barry is in the Championship. I've been at games in the Premiership this season, and there's been some horrendous refereeing call. There really has. I mean, it's hard to defend them a lot of times, and I don't like having a go at referees because I think they're an easy target. But some of the decisions this season have been very, very poor against every club from top to bottom. So if other clubs want to go about that and register a complaint, fine. I don't honestly know where it's going to get you. I think the Celtic chairman Ian Bankier made reference to referees at the
That's right. He mentioned Nick Walsh, didn't he, before the League Cup semi-final? Was it?
There's things there. Rangers have had it with the SFA before. I think was it a game? Willie Collins, the referee, St Mirren v Rangers, maybe a couple of seasons ago, when Rangers highlighted things. So it's certainly, this is not new. This has been going on, but I think again it's an indication, and I totally get it. The stakes are so high, Rob. The stakes are so high, and like I say, if there's going to be a fall guy this season, it could very well be one of our referees, and that would be a horrible thing to happen, because for the sake of £1 million, help is there. 1 million, I know it's a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not really. And for the sake of £1 million, we're leaving our game wide open.
Surely we can come up with a solution. If I understand some clubs are financially struggling at this moment in time, we were speaking off air, me and Mark, could the old firm not come in and say, right, you know what, we'll go and get it, and then in time they can pay them back, or can they get some sort of sponsorship in to try and bring it in, because we clearly need it, because there's some big decisions getting made in games that are totally wrong. And as Mark just pointed out there, this is worth 35 to 40 million pound, this league title. And if something happens in a game with a referee making a real bad decision and it goes against whoever's going for the title, then he's going to come in for some amount of abuse, which is not right, because they're only human. They do make mistakes, but they need help, Rob. And I think it's not just us, everybody's been banging on about it. We need to get it in as quickly as possible.
From what we hear, there are 8 points of concern intimated in this complaint from Rangers to the Scottish FA. Can you see 8 points of concern from that game Tuesday night?
When I read it, I can think of 4. I can think of my nephew's penalty, Lewis, with the ball moving.
Yeah.
The 2 yellow cards
For Ryan Kent.
and maybe the Johnny Hayes elbow. But listen, it's not the worst I've seen, if I'm being honest with you. The other 4, I can't really think
What
of.
if Scott Brown's interaction with the referee will that feature?
Very probably. Well,
But
I mean,
that's
it would
the
have
4.
to
That's
get
the
to
4.
8. They'd have to include that. I
But
would have
that's the
thought.
4 that jump out at me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And apparently, Rangers have also asked the SFA for details on how refereeing performance is assessed on an ongoing basis. So that there's a clear question mark in there about the way it does work, as we know, where there's a supervisor in the stand giving the referee
Assessor.
marks, and how they're dealt with when they do get things wrong. You know, are they demoted for a game? How is that punishment, if it is deemed to be a punishment, how's that arrived at?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that's a fair question. We should have transparency in our game, Rob, and I don't think, wanting that kind of information, I don't think that would be exclusive to Rangers. I think every club up and down the country, every manager, every supporter, everybody in the media would look for something like that. I think in that circumstance, again, and I'm kind of on the side of like trying to protect referees, is I think as long as that kind of information is kept private. I mean, I think the clubs are entitled to be briefed on it, the inner workings of how it works with Crawford Allen and the SFA.
They should know anyway, shouldn't they?
So maybe just getting clubs in, having a bit of dialogue. As I said as well on the programme on Wednesday night, referees are human, Robin. What I think is to the detriment of the referees, and I've mentioned this many times to the SFA and their PR and all the things, that they've got to put them out in the media more and show that they're just normal guys.
They're human
They're normal
beings.
guys that like football. They like their football. They like a pint. They like going to the movie. They like what they are. We know them. We know most of the referees. They're all decent fellas, more than decent. They're good company, but they don't get allowed to. What you see is some of them, on the pitch looking as though they're like school teachers talking to pupils, and it doesn't paint a proper picture. Or at the end of the day, showing a human side to them isn't going to stop them from making mistakes or making managers angry or making the wrong calls. But I think it would just help give a greater understanding. And there's also as well the pressure that referees are under week to week, and when they go home and they know they've made a mistake and they don't. If it's Barry's a manager feels he's picked the wrong team or one of his players lets him down, that'll prey in his mind for days. Referees don't go home and say, I made a mistake, I don't care. They can't switch off. There's a mental health element as well to refereeing performances and the abuse that they get in social media. So like I say, it sounds very simple and I know we're banging on about it, but we need to help them. And VAR, it's not an absolute solution, but my God, it's a big help to them and to Scottish football in general.
Yeah, and I think in the course of the communication between Rangers and the Scottish FA, I mean, those 3 letters, VAR, have been very prominent in terms of trying to find a solution, trying to help the referees deliver better performances. So it's a priority as far as Rangers are concerned in the course of this complaint. And as you said, Barry, if it's a big enough priority for Celtic and Rangers, they are the clubs who hold the big spending power in Scottish football. They could drive it on to actually start the process now, so that we can be thinking in terms of a few months down the line where it could be introduced.
I would like to think they are. I would like to think these clubs want to come up with a solution to try and bring this in as quickly as possible. Because we understand, I think Mark said it was costing £70,000-80,000 per club. Now you've got to understand the COVID situation and the pressures that some of the smaller clubs are under. And that may be one solution. They're the richer clubs. Can they go and fit the bill just now, but get paid back over time, over a period of 12 months or 18 months or whatever? So hopefully they're sitting around the table and trying to come up with a quick solution, because we need it in, and we need it in quickly. and for the referees as well, as I said, because there is some decisions, the games that I've watched this season, there has been some baffling decisions, but again, they're only human. They're going to make mistakes. Bringing VAR in, I'm not saying it's going to make it 100% better, but it'll make it a hell of a lot better for the referees, and it will help them.
Rob, am I getting my numbers right? It is about £1 million, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Roughly,
Yeah.
it's about £1 million.
Yeah.
You think about it, between the SFA and the SPFL, and I don't know if would the SFA get involved in it, but they probably would, because it's part of the referee instruction,
Yeah.
which is SFA. That surely, I know things have been tight, but surely between the SFA, the SPFL, and top 10, 12, 14 clubs in the country, whoever's coming up and down the club.
Get it sponsored.
Get £1 million.
Get it sponsored.
Yeah.
You know, would that not be a great target for a sponsorship? The company that helps Scottish
But we
football
don't think out the box
bring in
up here.
VAR.
We don't think about things like that.
No.
We need to start thinking about things. Get a sponsorship in for VAR. I'm sure a company would be absolutely delighted. A big company would come in and sponsor it. Maybe no pay for the £1 million or whatever it's going to cost, but they'll put money towards
Subsidise it.
and it'll help other clubs
Yeah.
be able to put a few pound into it.
It's
Rob,
about
you could do it. You do it, Rob.
Yeah,
You stick half a million,
I'm
Rob. You stick half a million.
tempted. I'm tempted, I have to say, but I'm going into confidential negotiations now, so I can't say any more about it.
Tell Alexa to launch Go Radio or listen on the Go Radio app.